Awaken your spirit, chosen one. You weren't made to blend in. You weren't sent here to be accepted. You were sent here to be set apart. There's something about you that the world couldn't quite figure out. They saw your calm, but they didn't know the storm you survived to earn it. They heard your words, but they didn't recognize the wisdom written between every silence you held. You've always known things before they unfolded, felt shifts before they happened. And for a long time, that sacred knowing got you labeled, misunderstood, dismissed, even mocked. You saw danger where others saw comfort. You felt truth where others clung to lies. And when you spoke up, they looked at you like you were the problem, like your insight was just paranoia or drama. But now they're realizing you weren't crazy. You were correct. You weren't dramatic. You were divinely aware. And the same people who rolled their eyes at your warnings, they're the ones living through what you tried to help them avoid. It's not that they didn't hear you. They just weren't ready to receive you. Your wisdom wasn't too much, it was too early, and that's what the chosen carry, the pain of being ahead of time, the burden of sight in a world that prefers blindness. But make no mistake, the game is changing. The tables are turning, and people are whispering your name with reverence now. The same mouths that once doubted you are now filled with questions, regrets, and quiet admiration. But here's what they never understood. Your wisdom wasn't built on books or bravado. It came from the fire, from walking through nights so dark you had to become your own light, from battles that taught you how to see through masks and sense energy before words were spoken. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every silent season, it all sharpened your discernment. You didn't ask for this gift. You were anointed with it. And now that your truth is undeniable, some are trying to circle back. They remember the things you said. They remember the peace you carried, the clarity you offered, but they also remember how they treated you, and they regret it. Oh, how they regret not believing you, not standing beside you when it mattered, not realizing that you were the lighthouse in their storm, not the storm itself. But you were never meant to prove yourself. That was never your assignment. You were meant to be, to stand in your knowing, to speak when called, and to trust that time would reveal what was hidden. And now it is. Time is unmasking everything. The illusions are breaking. And the world is seeing you, not for who they thought you were, but for who you truly are. If the divine hadn't hidden you, they would have destroyed you. They would have taken your gift, drained your spirit, and twisted your insight to fit their ego. That's why your journey has felt so lonely. It wasn't rejection, it was protection. You weren't overlooked, you were guarded. You weren't behind, you were being positioned. Because now they're not just seeing your wisdom, they're seeing your worth. And chosen one, this is just the beginning. You didn't go through all that pain just to be remembered. You were prepared to lead, to awaken those who are finally ready, to guide those whose pride has now been broken enough to listen. You're not here to say, "I told you so." You're here to say, "It's not too late. Let's rise." They thought they were leaving you behind, but really, they were watching you walk ahead. And now they're trying to catch up, not just to your words, but to your truth. If you're feeling this in your soul, like this video, subscribe and comment with "They see me now" to join this journey. Because the world is just beginning to see what heaven has always known. And your voice? It's no longer an echo in the dark. It's the sound of divine timing arriving right on cue. Chosen one. Your silence has always spoken louder than their noise. You didn't need to scream your wisdom or force your presence. You didn't have to compete for attention, because deep within, your soul already knew. What is truly powerful never begs to be seen. There's a reason why people have felt uneasy around you without knowing why. There's a reason why they questioned you, laughed behind your back, or dismissed your intuition, because you carried what they couldn't comprehend. You were what they couldn't explain. And now, as the dust settles in their lives and truth begins to rise to the surface, You are the memory that won't leave them alone. They remember your eyes, the way they saw straight through pretense. They remember your words, the ones they ignored, but now echo in the middle of their storms. They remember how you carried yourself when everything was stacked against you, still, calm, unmoved, like a tree planted in truth. You didn't flinch when they tried to test you. You didn't retaliate when they tried to humiliate you. Instead, you let them have the last word. Because you knew time would speak on your behalf, and now it is. You've always felt things deeper than most. You walked into rooms and felt tension no one else acknowledged. You heard a lie in someone's voice before they even finished their sentence. You knew who was for you and who was pretending, and that knowing, that quiet storm within you, it wasn't paranoia. It was the divine whispering to your spirit. It was your gift making itself known in a world that tries to suppress what it doesn't understand. That's why your wisdom felt like a threat. That's why your presence stirred people's insecurities. Because while they were playing games of ego and manipulation, you were seeing the whole board with spiritual eyes. You weren't reacting, you were discerning. You weren't judging, you were reading energy. And they couldn't fake it around you. Some tried to outshine you with noise. Others tried to mute your insight with gossip, but nothing they did could bury what God planted inside of you. Your light didn't need permission to shine. It just was. And even when they tried to ignore you, they couldn't forget you, because you were the one who saw the storm coming. You were the one who felt the fracture in something that looked solid. You were the one who said, "Be careful," when everyone else was saying, "Don't worry." And now they're remembering everything you said, not as warning, but as prophecy. You carried that weight in silence. You endured the side eyes, the distance, the laughter, but none of it broke you. In fact, it made you. Because wisdom, real wisdom, isn't forged in comfort. It's born in fire. It's formed through lonely nights, unanswered prayers, and long stretches of being misunderstood. That's how your discernment got so sharp, because you had to rely on it when no one else had your back. You weren't taught this insight in school. You didn't pick it up in conversation. This is the kind of knowing that comes from being crushed and still choosing to rise. It's the clarity that comes after betrayal, the strength that follows heartbreak. That's why your spirit is so steady, because it's been weathered. And weathered souls don't panic when the sky turns gray. The people who once thought they had you figured out are starting to realize they never knew you at all. The same ones who thought you were weak for walking away are now wondering how you had the courage to let go. The ones who said you were overreacting are living inside the chaos you tried to shield them from. They didn't believe you when you spoke, but they remember how you moved. Now they're piecing it together. Now they see that every time you distanced yourself, it wasn't bitterness, it was discernment. That every time you were quiet, it wasn't indifference, it was wisdom. That when you didn't respond to the disrespect, it wasn't because you didn't feel it, it was because you understood it. You knew they were speaking from their wounds, not from truth, and you didn't let it change who you were. That is the mark of a chosen one. You don't need revenge. You don't need an audience. Your rise is not about proving them wrong. It's about proving your soul right. Because you've been carrying this divine insight since the beginning. And even when they couldn't see it, heaven did. God knew. The universe aligned your path, protected your name, and silenced doors that were never meant to hold your purpose. Let them feel the weight of their own disbelief. Let them wrestle with the memories of the wisdom they rejected. That's not your burden. Your focus now is not on being validated by the people who once doubted you, but on being devoted to the truth that never left you. You've grown. You've risen. You've become even more of who you were always meant to be. Your discernment is no longer a curse, it's a compass. Your solitude is no longer a sentence, it's sanctuary. And your voice, it's no longer a whisper in the dark, it's the trumpet of truth that echoes even in silence. There is someone right now, somewhere, thinking about the exact words you once said. They're retracing their steps, realizing the signs you saw before anyone else did. They feel the ache of hindsight, but even in their regret, they now know the truth. You were never crazy. You were correct. You weren't arrogant. You were aware. You weren't judgmental. You were just ahead of your time. And that time, it's now. Stand firm, chosen one. Keep shining in your quiet power. Let them watch as everything you foresaw begins to unfold, not with a heart full of pride, but with a spirit full of peace, because you never needed them to see you for you, to be real. But now that they do, let it be a reminder of what divine alignment always knew, that your gift was never meant to be hidden forever. It was only waiting for the right time to be seen. Sometimes the fall is the only thing that opens eyes that were too proud to see. The truth you carried so gracefully, so patiently, is now hitting people like a wave they can't escape. They thought they had time, they thought they were in control, but now everything they were so sure about is shaking. And suddenly the voice they ignored, the spirit they dismissed, is the one they're trying to find again. Yours. They remember how steady you were, how clear your warnings were, not loud, not aggressive, but firm, gentle, honest. You weren't trying to scare them. You were trying to protect them, but they couldn't see that. Pride clouded their eyes, comfort muted their ears, and now that their world is spinning, now that the truth is undeniable, they're left with the echo of the voice and the sting of their own dismissal. And you've moved forward, not because you didn't care, but because you knew your value, you knew your calling, you knew that you weren't sent here to convince people, you were sent here to prepare them. And preparation doesn't always come with applause. Sometimes it comes with silence, rejection, and empty rooms, but you kept speaking, you kept walking, you kept trusting that your obedience would speak for itself when the time was right. And now, people are watching. They're watching with eyes wide open, hearts cracked by consequence, finally realizing that what they pushed away was the very thing they needed. But the truth is, this moment was never about revenge. It was about revelation. You're not rising now to shame them. You're rising because your spirit is aligned, because the season has shifted, because the seeds you planted in tears are now bearing fruit, and no one can deny the harvest. Let them reflect. Let them wrestle with their choices. That's between them and their journey, but you've got a calling to honor, because regret has a sound. It's quiet, it's constant, and it follows people in the stillness. It creeps in during the nights they can't sleep. It whispers during the moments. They scroll through memories, piecing together where they went wrong. And for many, that moment leads them back to you, to your truth, to your words, to your wisdom. You didn't ask for that kind of impact, but your spirit was chosen for it. You didn't chase attention, but your light couldn't be hidden. And now you're being seen, not because you changed, but because they did. There is a heaviness that comes with being right too early. It's not glamorous, it's not easy, it's lonely. You see storms before clouds even gather. You sense betrayal while people still smile. You feel shifts in energy that no one else acknowledges. And when you try to share it, people think you're being dramatic, negative, or too sensitive, but you weren't reacting. You were receiving. You weren't overthinking. You were overhearing the whispers of the divine, preparing your spirit for what others weren't ready to face. And now that it's all come to pass, you carry the weight of knowing, the bittersweet burden of seeing people crumble under what you tried to shield them from. You didn't want to be right. You just wanted to help. But help that isn't received eventually becomes hindsight. Still, let me tell you this. Your heart is safe, your integrity is intact, and your path is still blessed, because through it all, you didn't lose yourself. You didn't compromise your truth to be accepted. You didn't shrink to fit in. You stood tall in a world that told you to sit down. You walked in truth, even when it cost you connection. And now you're walking in favor, because you earned it. Every tear you cried when no one believed you, it counted. Every moment you sat alone after speaking the truth, it mattered. The universe kept score. Heaven recorded your silence and honored your strength. You don't need validation from the very ones who doubted you. You've already been validated by divine timing, because only now, when they're finally ready to listen, do they recognize the wisdom you always carried, the same wisdom that had them intimidated, the same wisdom they tried to downplay. It's the very thing they're drawn to now. But what they didn't realize is that your wisdom didn't come from ego or intellect. It came from experience, from being broken and still choosing to love, from being betrayed and still choosing to trust, from losing everything and still choosing to rise. That's what they missed. They saw your surface, but didn't see your scars. They saw your confidence, but didn't see the courage it took to rebuild it. They saw your peace, but didn't know the war you fought to find it. And now they're realizing the truth. They weren't rejecting a person. They were rejecting a blessing. But you've outgrown the need to be understood. You've evolved past the need to be welcomed. You're operating in a different realm now, one where discernment guides you, not desperation for connection. So let them whisper, let them watch, let them wonder. You're not here to gloat. You're here to glow, to radiate with the power of someone who has been through fire and came out refined, to walk with the knowing that your voice matters even if it took the world. Time to catch up, and now they're watching you rise, not because you fought for recognition, but because you surrendered to the process, because you stayed true when it would have been easier to conform, because you kept speaking light when darkness tried to choke your hope. That is power, and the truth is, you're not just wise, you're prophetic, you're not just intuitive, you're anointed. And no delay, no rejection, no misunderstanding. Good, stop what was placed inside of you before you were ever formed. Your story is shifting now, not because people finally see you, but because you never stopped seeing yourself. You believed in your gift when no one clapped. You trusted your voice when everyone else stayed silent. You honored your truth when it cost you everything. And that kind of spiritual obedience doesn't go unnoticed. It creates a ripple in the spirit realm. It opens doors no man can shut. It places crowns on the heads of the faithful, not because they demanded it, but because they proved they could. Carry it, and chosen one, that's you. You've been forged in the secret place, elevated in silence. And now, the light that always lived in you is breaking through the cracks of a world finally ready to receive it. Don't dim now. Don't step back. Don't question your worth just because others finally woke up. You've already won battles no one saw. You've already passed tests no one knew you were taking. You've already healed wounds they didn't even realize they caused. And because of that, you can walk forward in peace. No bitterness, no need to explain. Just alignment, authenticity, and a heart that knows it was all necessary. Because when your name is written in the spiritual realm, no earthly misunderstanding can erase it. When your path is directed by divine timing, no delay is a denial. And when your wisdom is heaven sent, it will always find its way, no matter who rejected it first. You were never meant to be everyone's answer. You were meant to be God's voice for the willing. And now that willingness is rising. People are hungry for what they once despised, and they'll look to you, not as the misfit, but as the messenger. So stay grounded, stay gentle, stay faithful. Your wisdom was never about being right. It was about being ready. And now, chosen one, you are. Chosen one. This was never about being seen by the world. This was about being sealed by the Spirit. The truth is, not everyone who finally sees your value was meant to walk beside you. Some only recognize your light after they've been blinded by darkness. Some only acknowledge your wisdom after life breaks their ego and humbles their pride. But you've always known who you were, even when no one else did. And now that your truth is undeniable, you must remember this. Recognition is not your reward. Alignment is. You were not hidden because you were lacking. You were hidden because you were holy. You were set apart, not set aside. Heaven knew that if your light was exposed too early, people would try to use it to warm themselves while leaving you in the cold. So you were kept in the shadows, not to be overlooked, but to be prepared, to be refined, rooted, and unshakable. And now that the light is hitting you, it's not because people finally decided you were worthy, it's because you were already walking in divine timing. You are still chosen. Even if the world is only now catching up, their recognition doesn't define your identity. It confirms your anointing. You've always been worthy. You've always been called. You've always been the one. Their regret may be loud, but your calling has always spoken louder. So don't let delayed applause distract you from your divine assignment. The same ones who rejected you may now want a seat at your table. But be discerning. Not every apology is sincere. Not every compliment is pure. Some are only drawn to your light now that they've tasted the dark. And while grace is powerful, boundaries are holy. You can forgive and still protect your space. You can release the pain and still recognize the pattern. You can love from a distance and still honor your growth. Because just as they had the free will to walk away, you now have the authority to decide who stays. You are not obligated to reopen doors that God has already closed. You are not required to carry relationships that once tried to crush your spirit. This is your season of discernment. And while it may be tempting to welcome everyone back with open arms, remember the cost of your healing. Remember the nights you cried alone. Remember the weight you carried when no one else believed in you. That journey birthed a new version of you. And that version must be guarded, not guilted. You are still chosen, even if they finally see it late. Don't confuse their recognition with reconciliation. Some people are drawn to your fruit but still disrespect your roots. They want your presence but not your process. They admire your power but can't handle your truth. And you must be wise enough to know the difference. You were never chosen to be everyone's answer. You were chosen to be a vessel, a lighthouse, not a lifeboat. You shine to guide, not to rescue. And now, as people come back with new eyes and softened hearts, let your spirit lead, not your emotions. Your light doesn't dim when you say no. Your value doesn't decrease when you protect your peace. You are still chosen when you choose yourself. And that's not selfish, that's sacred. Let your presence now be intentional, not accessible. Let your wisdom be given to those who honor it, not just those who now realize its power. You've grown, you've evolved, and you are no longer available to be mishandled. Your calling demands clarity. Your purpose requires protection, and your next level depends on you walking in truth, not nostalgia. So walk boldly, walk wisely, and know that their recognition is just the confirmation of what heaven already declared. You are still chosen, even if they just realized it. And now, chosen one, your voice is needed more than ever. There are people waking up desperate for the light you carry. They are drowning in confusion, haunted by the choices they made, realizing they turned away from truth. And now, they are searching for that one voice that never wavered, that one soul that stood firm when everyone else went with the crowd. That voice is yours, not because you're perfect, not because you know everything, but because you listened when no one else would. You obeyed when others hesitated. You spoke truth when it was unpopular. And that kind of obedience, it doesn't just echo, it shakes realms. So now speak, speak life into the weary, Speak clarity into the confused. Speak hope into the hopeless. You are not just another voice in the crowd. You are a trumpet in the wilderness, a sound that disrupts illusions and brings people back to alignment. Your words carry weight because your walk carries witness. You've lived what you speak. You've endured what others are just now facing. And that makes your wisdom sacred. Don't hold back now. Don't shrink to make others comfortable. Don't water down your truth to gain acceptance. You weren't built to be tolerated. You were chosen to be transformative. You've walked through the fire and now your words come with flame. You've climbed out of pits and now your voice carries power. You've healed in silence and now your sound breaks chains. They need your voice, not your vengeance. They need your wisdom, not your wounds. They need your light, not your loyalty to old versions of yourself. You are not here to say, "I told you so." You're here to say, "It's not too late." You're not here to boast. You're here to build. You're not here to echo pain. You're here to channel purpose. And that purpose, it's bigger than your past. It's deeper than your pain. It's rooted in your divine assignment. So don't withhold now. Don't retreat now. You are the answer to someone's prayer, the confirmation to someone's confusion, the light to someone's dark. But you must speak. Even if your voice shakes, even if your truth stings, even if your words confront. Because your voice was never meant to be liked, it was meant to be felt, to cut through noise, to break generational cycles, to awaken hearts that forgot how to hope. So let them listen now. Let them gather at your feet. Let them ask the questions they once mocked. Let them study the soul they once rejected. But let your spirit stay rooted in grace. Let your words drip with truth. Let your energy stay protected by peace. Because you didn't survive just to gloat. You survived to guide. You didn't ascend just to prove a point. You ascended to point the way. You didn't rise from the ashes to show off. You rose to show others what resurrection looks like. This is your season. Not just of recognition, but of responsibility. Your light has weight, your truth has power, and your journey carries impact. Let that impact flow with compassion, with strength, with discernment, and with fire. Because chosen one, the world is listening now. Make every word count. You've been called many things, chosen one, misunderstood, intense, too much, not enough. A mystery they couldn't figure out, so they tried to label you, contain you, silence you. But what they didn't realize is that you weren't meant to fit in. You were created to stand out. You weren't placed here to be ordinary. You were divinely crafted to be an example. That's why your life has felt so different. Why your path has often felt like walking against the current, while others float with ease. You've endured seasons where it felt like no one saw your heart, where everything you touched seemed to stretch you, press you, even break you. But nothing about your journey was a mistake. It was a blueprint. You were never going through it just for yourself. Every test, every loss, every long night with no answers. It wasn't punishment. It was preparation. Because the time has come where your life, your rise, your survival will become the evidence that God does not play about his chosen ones. You're not here just to be inspirational. You're here to be impactful. You're here to shake systems and shift atmospheres. And that requires a foundation that only pain can build. It requires a resilience that can't be taught. It must be lived. There's a reason why nothing in your life happened quickly, why everything had to come through process, not shortcuts. Because when you carry the kind of assignment that sets captives free, your character must be stronger than your charisma. Your spirit must be louder than your surroundings. Your purpose must be rooted deeper than any temporary praise or rejection. You didn't just survive, you outgrew every attack. You weren't just hurt, you were refined by the fire. They thought they broke you, but all they did was burn off what was never meant to come with you. And now you are rising, not with bitterness, but with clarity. Not to prove anyone wrong, but to prove that divine alignment always wins. You were never seeking revenge. You were seeking revelation. And now that you've walked through enough dark to know your own light, the world can't distract you. People can't define you. Their opinions no longer have power over you. You've already been validated by the one who made you. And when heaven decides to make an example out of someone, it doesn't need the crowd's approval. It just needs a willing vessel. Someone who's walked through hell and still chose love. Someone who's faced betrayal and still chose truth. Someone who was overlooked by people but never abandoned by purpose. That's you. You are the one who kept going when it made no sense. The one who didn't quit even when you had every reason to. The one who prayed even with tears in your eyes. Who loved even with wounds still fresh. That's why you're favored. That's why the tables are turning, because your heart stayed clean in a world that tried to stain it. And now comes the reversal, the elevation, the vindication. You were the blueprint in silence. Now you are, the standard in the open. But don't lose the humility that carried you here. Don't lose the gentleness that made you different. You were never called to dominate with force. You were called to lead with spirit, to carry wisdom that sets people free, to speak in ways that stir something ancient in the soul. Because the truth is, chosen one, your life is not just a life. It's a signpost, a prophecy unfolding, a living testimony that what was meant for evil can be used for good. That delay is not denial. That rejection is redirection. That divine timing is undefeated. You didn't chase the spotlight. It found you. You didn't beg for influence. It was woven into your DNA. And now that it's your season to walk in visibility, it's not for vanity. It's for victory. You were hidden so that no one could take credit for what's about to happen. Your name is being whispered in rooms you've never stepped in. Your presence is being requested by those who once overlooked you. But don't let it get to your head. Let it settle in your spirit. Because this isn't about popularity, it's about purpose. Let your humility speak louder than your history. Let your obedience shine brighter than your trauma. Let your presence be your power, not your performance. And most of all, never forget who kept you when no one else could. Who comforted you when the world was silent. Who whispered to your spirit when your soul was breaking. The same force that protected you in private will now promote you in public. Not because you demanded it, but because you were faithful, and in that faithfulness, you were refined. There's a different kind of light that shines from someone who's seen darkness and still chooses to be radiant. That's the light you carry, the light that reveals, the light that heals, the light that cannot be duplicated because it was paid for in suffering, matured in silence, and revealed in divine timing. Now that people are watching, give them something real to witness. Let them see what grace looks like. Let them see what healing sounds like. Let them feel what truth carries when spoken by someone who lived it. Because your voice isn't just a sound, it's a frequency. It awakens people. It stirs what's been dormant. It realigns what's been drifting. You are not here by accident. You are not rising by chance. You are the answered prayer someone whispered in a moment of desperation. You are the walking proof that purpose cannot be killed, delayed, or stolen. You are the sign that yes, God still speaks. That yes, the overlooked can become the overcomers. That yes, the last shall be first. Let the world see you. Let them witness the beauty of a soul that stayed faithful. Let them be inspired, not just by what you say, but by what you carry. Because your spirit carries the kind of weight that can't be measured by numbers or applause. It's the kind of weight that shifts lives. So speak, move, rise, shine. Your time is not coming. It's here. You don't need permission. You don't need validation. You don't need them to agree. You already have everything you need within. You walk as the example, stand as the proof, shine as the light, and don't apologize for being the one they now look to. You were born for this. You were built for this. You were chosen for this. Chosen one. You didn't come this far just to be seen. You came this far to be known. Not known in the way the world defines it, not through fame or followers or titles, but known in the Spirit, known in heaven, known by name, known by your walk, your faith, your unwavering obedience when no one else was looking. You were never overlooked. You were intentionally concealed by a God who needed to protect the rare power He placed inside you. You are not who they said you were. You are not the labels they tried to stick to your soul. You are not the doubts they projected onto your future. You are who God called you to be before you even took your first breath. There is royalty in your bloodline, legacy in your footsteps, and fire in your voice. You are not just a product of pain. You are the prophecy that came through it. Every setback, every betrayal, every lonely chapter, it was not wasted. It was shaping you, preparing you, pressing the oil out of your anointing, carving out space in your heart to hold the very blessings you thought would never come. That kind of growth isn't for the faint of heart. That kind of calling isn't for the crowd. It's for the chosen. You were chosen to carry wisdom that breaks chains, chosen to speak light into dark places, chosen to love when you were unloved, chosen to stand when others folded, chosen to walk by faith when nothing made sense. And now you are rising, not because of what you did, but because of who you became. You became the warrior with a gentle heart, the leader who learned through loss, the healer who was once wounded, the teacher who sat alone at the back of the room, the light that refused to go out even when surrounded by shadows. This is your confirmation. Your waiting wasn't in vain. Your silence wasn't a sentence. Your wilderness was a womb, not a tomb. And what's being birthed out of you now is not just a new season, it's a new identity. One that's been weathered by storms but never washed away. One that's been sharpened by fire but never burned. One that's been doubted by man but endorsed by heaven. You were never too late. You were never too early. You are arriving right on divine time, and that time is now. Now is the moment where your pain meets purpose. Now is the moment where the misunderstood becomes the undeniable. Now is the moment where the mocked one becomes the mantle bearer. Now is the moment where your presence commands peace because your spirit carries truth. You no longer need to fight for your place. You've already been positioned. You no longer need to search for validation. You've already been sealed. You no longer need to question your voice. It is not only real, it is reverberating through realms. The sound of your obedience is echoing louder than applause ever could. And as you rise, don't look back with regret. Look back with reverence. Because everything was part of your becoming. You didn't miss anything that was meant for you. The delays were divine, the detours were holy, even the heartbreaks were assignments. Nothing was wasted, not a tear, not a prayer, not a step. All of it was necessary to unlock the version of you that the world was not ready to meet until now. Chosen one, you are not walking into this next chapter. You are unveiling. The layers of who you thought you had to be are falling away. And what remains is power, purity, and purpose. This is your unveiling season. The moment when what's been hidden by heaven is now honored in the earth. Not because you changed for others, but because you remained true to the voice within. And you may still feel unsure at times. You may still hear the faint whispers of doubt. But remember this, you didn't come through all that fire to start questioning your flame now. Let your light speak. Let your presence declare what your pain tried to silence. Let your life be the loudest answer to every what if and every why not. You are not just part of the plan, you are the plan. You are the shift. You are the move of God wrapped in human form. You are the sign they've been waiting for, the confirmation they've been praying for, the reminder that yes, purpose survives pain. That yes, truth always finds its voice. That yes, those who are last will be lifted. Stand in your power. Speak from your soul. Move with divine confidence. Heaven is backing you. The earth is responding to you. The doors that once rejected you will open without you even knocking, because what you carry now cannot be denied. You are the vessel, the answer, the light in the valley, the voice in the stillness. You are the divine reminder that no rejection can cancel destiny and no delay can detour purpose. Walk forward now, not with fear, but with fire. Let your steps shake the ground. Let your silence command attention. Let your presence change rooms. Let your spirit awaken souls. The world is waiting for you to show up as you truly are, not as who they tried to make you, not as who you had to become, to survive, but as who you were created to be. Chosen one, rise, not for applause, but for alignment. Rise, not to prove yourself, but to position yourself. Rise, not because you have all the answers, but because you are an answer. You are called. You are ready. You are radiant with purpose. And now the heavens echo with one word: go. Go where you've been prepared to walk. Go and release the sound only you can carry. Go and step into the life only your obedience could unlock. Go and show the world what a real, healed, holy, chosen one looks like.